Yo, what is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of Dostcast. मेरा नाम है Vinamre Kasana. If you are new to my channel, consider subscribing because we release new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. Our guest, her name is Aili Seghetti. Also, she's the woman who runs the Intimacy Curator. इससे पहले मैं उस description को butcher करूँ कुछ भी गलत बोल के, I'd like to read from what their LinkedIn says. We're an organization promoting self-discovery through emotional and sexual well-being. We offer dating, intimacy, and relationship coaching services to curious individuals, couples, and polycules of all sexual and romantic orientations, abilities, and all gender identities. Our ultimate goal is to help people discover their innermost selves through intimacy and promote gender, sexual, and relationship diversity. We do this by using somatic psychology and coaching frameworks that include talk-based coaching, experiential learning done with touch, cuddling, role-play, breathwork, and visualizations. I first heard of Aili जब Vice ने एक article इनके बारे में अभी publish करा था हाल फिलहाल में, how it talked about how she helps men go on fake dates to get them comfortable कि असली में date कैसे करते हैं and then get them okay with touch and all those things. It's a loaded subject और मेरे को लगता है इसमें बहुत सारे misconstrued notions निकल के आ रहे थे लोगों के मन के अंदर कि intimacy सिखाई भी कैसे जाती है. Can you actually learn it, right? And how can you be open about what you want sexually? क्या इंडिया में हम ऐसा कर भी सकते हैं या नहीं कर सकते? आप में से कुछ लोग देख रहे होंगे. Is it even possible or not? तो ये सारी बातें हमने करी on this podcast. Listen to this with an open mind and understand that life isn't just about काम करना और सिर्फ मर जाना. It can be about your pleasure. It has to be about your pleasure, right? And it has to be about what you want from this life. What you want from it romantically, what you want from your partners, what you want from your sexual lives. So ये सारी बातें हुई. The episode with Aili Seghetti of the Intimacy Curator begins in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, usually when we do this, I have like a bigger table and it's more...
This is very interesting.
Yeah, this is like a picnic table. We, because it's a big problem in Mumbai to shoot in these places.
I can imagine.
Every place costs. This is a fairly new Airbnb. We're the third people here. So
Wow.
It's just been a lot of, but it's fun. I like coming to cities to shoot podcasts.
Actually, I should do this, man. You can come to my house and do this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Too late, we're already here. Yeah, no, the issue would be just carrying a lot of stuff. I paid for extra baggage and I got 4 t-shirts. So I went to Geo World Drive yesterday to purchase more clothes because I didn't have any clothes. Anyhow,
Okay.
first of all, how do you pronounce your name? Do I say Aili or Aili?
Aili.
Aili.
Yeah.
Aili, you were on Vice recently with an amazing headline. You help people go on fake dates so they can understand intimacy, right? Specifically men. Before we get into anything else, what has been the response to that like? Are you getting DMs with people saying, I have intimacy issues, I have problems? How has your life changed since you've been under the spell of the Vice effect, for the lack of a better word?
I mean, to be honest, it was very interesting to see friends and, family who live abroad suddenly be like, congratulations, you've achieved something.
Yeah.
I always thought that, I'll feel at least some amount of success the moment I am on Vogue. Okay?
Yeah.
I was like, Vogue is my goal. But it happened to be Vice. And sure, I mean, it's been slightly overwhelming because I'm not used to so much attention.
Right.
Although I stand out because I'm a white person hanging around in a non-white country. But a lot of DMs, a lot of emails, mostly men, but also couples, wives, partners, female partners. Not so much queer response yet. Like intimacy issues. I'm so glad that you've addressed this. That being shy as a man is a problem. I think my next couple of weeks are fairly booked now.
That's great to hear. To contextualize some of the things that you do, your website has these 3 categories, right? One is long for, one is lust, and the other is let go, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into the nitty-gritties, I think it'd be easier for the audiences if we can explain each of those.
Okay. So, Long has services for people who are reaching out or feel that they need to connect with a human or multiple humans. So,
right, so the opposite sex.
It could be the same sex also. Okay. So we are LGBTQA++. inclusive. So we do have people from the queer community also who come.
Right.
They're willing to date. So if you're reaching out and you're struggling to reach out, or you just want to enhance your experience, so if you're longing for connection, those are the sort of services that we have under
How do you
that.
facilitate that specific thing?
What do you mean?
So if someone, let's just say I am X person living in Mumbai and I have lost what it feels like to touch another human being, because we saw in the pandemic that there was a real touch pandemic, for the lack of a better word, because people were living alone, right? And they'd forgotten what intimacy or being in the vicinity of someone else feels like, right? So how do you facilitate something like that?
Right. So we most sessions are somatic sessions. So the initial sessions are online. So we get to know the person, but actually we we go on with people on sessions or dates if that's what they're looking for. And recreate that environment. So if you are, again, like a shy person, or you struggle with physical intimacy, it usually stems from struggling with emotional intimacy as well. So we just replicate that whole scenario. So we start with building a connection through breath, through eye contact. Then we explore touch, the different types of touches that exist, with hands or with like body parts. This can be done, obviously it's done with clothes, it's clothing, there is no genitals involved, like
Right.
we don't touch the genitals, we don't kiss. But other body parts can help us, just address intimacy or like approach intimacy or try out approaching intimacy in a different way.
How hard is it for someone to reach out to you, considering if they already have this problem? I'm assuming there's a lot of shame attached to it. So how do you make sure you're not judging them? Because I think one of the toughest things when people confide to others about their sexual problems is the shame that comes with it.
Yeah, so if you've reached a point where you want to make a change, it means that one layer of shame is already gone. So either it's like you are in a position like, okay, you're about to get married and you actually don't know how to like touch anyone.
Right.
So that's emergency level. So obviously there is a bit more shame there, but it's an emergency level. You actually need to do it before you get married, or you feel like you have this need. So obviously the shame is there, but once you already have made a step of approaching someone, then you're halfway there, literally. Because talking to me, I can make anyone talk about their sexual lives or their struggle, physical struggles, emotional struggle. It's just natural for me. Like it's...
Right. And so this problem of touch specifically, do you think it comes from not being socialized with other human beings when your clients are growing up?
Yeah. It comes from that. There are various issues that people have faced. Sometimes it's mental health issues of a parent. People who have had mothers, fathers, or whoever around them who were schizophrenic, for example, or were, bipolar. So touch was not really part of their growing up, and nobody touched them. Culturally also, in some communities, I'm not just talking about India, even abroad, like some families are just not touch friendly.
Right.
Some mothers have problems themselves. A lot of mothers go through post-natal stress and, they sort of detach from their babies. And it's, it happens. So it's not something that you should judge mothers for, like, all mothers are good and everybody's trying their best. But it just happens that people are not touched during their childhood, or they're touched in a wrong way. So there is a lot of sexual abuse, trauma. If you've experienced that at any point in your life, then it's an issue, especially at early age.
Right.
So if you have the younger you are, the bigger the problem. So you're going to carry it longer in life if it's happened to you, and obviously the intensity of the experience. So if you're talking about rape, for example, that, it's just, but if there's been just like some uncomfortable touching when you were really young, you probably don't even remember that happened, because that's your coping mechanism. You tend to forget. You want to forget that experience, but it stays in your body.
So this is where the somatic stuff comes in, right?
Yeah.
I used to follow this guy called Elliot Hulls on YouTube a long time ago. and he learned from this other scientist. His name was Alexander Lowen. He talked about bioenergetics, which was using exercises to essentially release repressed emotions and muscular tensions. And I did that for a year or so. And the usual release would manifest in either intense crying or screaming out of anger. In these somatic releases that you're getting your clients to do, are you setting up some music? Are you specifically priming them to get back to their memory and kind of release? Like, how do these somatic releases happen?
So, I mean, obviously, if there's been, I'm not a therapist, okay?
Right.
I'm a coach. If there's been sexual trauma or any form of extreme abuse, I usually tell clients to speak about it with a therapist as well. So they need
Right.
to have a therapist on board also. I might suggest EMDR, which is rapid eye movement therapy, is specialized for.
Do you know about that? Yeah, I just read about it. If you move your eyes rapidly to the peripheries and you think about a traumatic event, the emotional charge of the event goes down.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process. You need a few sessions to kind of do that with a professional who's been trained in that particular. But it works. I mean, it's worked for me. And obviously, I've been through therapy for 10 years or more than 10 years. And I've done EMDR and I've done different types of healing kind of things to address my own emotions. Because when you're dealing all day with other people's emotions, you need to be okay with yours first.
Yeah, isn't it called the wounded healer? I think that's the term I've heard for it. That the healer also needs to heal to deliver from a place of authenticity.
You heal together, basically. And most people who get into this profession have been wounded, and that's why they manage to sort of connect with people who have been wounded. So it's a very together process, and that's why it becomes very intimate with the clients as well. They know things about me, I know things about them. You spoke about release. There is a lot of release in crying, making noises. There are certain breathing exercises that allow that. And to me, my role in that is just to be present and create a safe space for them to express all this.
Right. So you do these over Zoom and you do this in Mumbai in person, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled to cities as well, but obviously, I mean, I need to be, paid for my travel and stuff
For
like
sure.
that. So sometimes if I go to Delhi and I'm there for 4-5 days, then I have my Delhi clients who would come and see me and stuff like that.
So beyond, so this is physical intimacy and touch. What are some of the other things that you offer as a part of your company, the Intimacy Curator?
Right. So we spoke about lust. Lust is fairly clear. So
Right.
it's more for people who are already in relationships. These can be monogamous ones or non-monogamous ones. So somehow we've managed to specialize in non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy, and also alternative lifestyles like kink.
Yeah.
So people approach us, for example, if they have issues, like if one person is kinky and the other one is not. So how do we communicate this how do I communicate I have a food fetish? How do I communicate that I love peeing on someone? That turns me on.
Those are very difficult conversations.
Yeah. They're interesting. For me, they're not difficult. For me, it's like daily conversation.
No, I can just imagine if you and your partner aren't the best at communication, if it just becomes tough, because I mean, I'll speak from a place of just being born and brought up here, that sex isn't a dinner table topic, and voicing your desires is certainly taboo even now, and to voice it in an emphatic manner and say, yes, this is what I want, is even rarer, right? So I'm just wondering, for example, when someone has a foot fetish, now that's frowned upon, right? I mean, comedians make jokes on it. It's all the rage in the meme community. I've been watching a bunch. What taking in that room, what does it look like? Like, hey, person X, this person has a foot fetish. Talk it out. How do you make that happen?
See, I mean, it goes back to the body. We are talking about bodies a lot. But
Right, that's fine.
First step is, obviously, you don't tell them I jerk off on feet, Let's say that.
Right.
You might select certain media pieces, could be literature, could be like video, and you watch it with your partner, and then you know where that spot is, where the feet come up. So you just say like, oh wow, like this is really interesting. Like, what do you think about it? And obviously different reactions, and I'm like, oh, that really attracts me. That's something I would like to explore one day.
So you gradually expose them through media, through talking about it, as opposed to, putting them in their face in the middle of having sex. Yeah.
Then the next step is like, with everyone being physical with each other, I say like, forget penetration, forget like sex as we understand it from porn. Just explore your body. There are so many body parts, that turn people on. So without saying like, oh, I actually want to get to your feet, just explore every single body part. And especially with feet is very easy because feet are very sensitive and they are an erotic zone for most people, unless you have like a phobia. So go down there and make the other person experience what it feels to be kissed on the feet or like massaged on the feet, and spend time there, but spend the same amount of time on their knees, on their thighs, on their elbows, their hands.
All the erogenous zones of the body.
Everything. All parts. So that all body parts becomes the same, so there is no, you're not judging that body part for something.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm just remembering all the petty spas I've done, with the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I had no idea that the feet are sensitive. I know palms are sensitive. They're made of the same thing.
Nerve endings. That's why you have the fishes, the fetish, the fetish fish.
How many times when you're doing a session like outside, you laugh when something like that happens?
Time.
Yeah.
You have to make it fun. It can't be serious business all the time.
Because it goes down to the most minute things. Like, I mean, I remember I went to purchase condoms the other day, and it was some person was sharing a grievance with like these 4 or 5 chemists at the same time. And I was like, I want condoms. The entire room just, which ones do you want? And then I was like, I want this one. But my point is, there's still a lot of discomfort about seeking what you truly want from sex. And I think another thing that I've noticed, especially in younger people, is that if they find out that person X is into bondage and they get scared, they often gossip about it to their friends. This guy was so weird, or this girl was so weird, they were into it. Even if someone does not take your services, what do you think is like a healthy approach to introduce your kinks or your desires in the bedroom without making it awkward and like explode in your face?
Yeah, you have to expose them again, like slowly. Just give them stuff to read, give them stuff to watch. Obviously, not extreme things. And then you have to be confident about it yourself. Like, if you still have shame about it, you're gonna feel uncomfortable, and the other person is because shame is a language, is a body language. You might start like stuttering, or you might start turning your eyes here and there, and the other person is gonna read that. The moment they read shame on you, they will feed into it. And if people are judging and gossiping about it, it's great, because we need to really, really normalize this.
Yeah.
Not just here, globally. Normalize talking about sex, normalize talking about kinks, because there's so much to learn from the kinky community in terms of consent, in terms of talking about what you like, what you're not into, what you're open to try, all of that. So, the first step is always addressing your own shame.
Right. When you deal with people who want to get out of monogamy and enter non-monogamous relationships, so that could be 2 guys and a girl, 2 girls, 2 guys, whatever it is, right? There's different combinations.
Or 1 guy, 15 girls.
That as well, right? Again, you would probably imagine that is something that you would see in porn. But if people really want that, then how much does jealousy play into that? Because when people are typically used to monogamous relationships, and I'm sure you can speak more to that, adding another partner to the mix, or even a casual, partner for that matter, can be challenging. And I'm sure a lot of emotions must come up for people, and yet they want to try. What are those conversations like? And does jealousy come up as often as I think it does?
Yeah, I think jealousy is like, the biggest sort of challenge in non-monogamy for sure. And jealousy is fine. I mean, you can be and you can feel jealousy, and jealousy is just like any other feeling, It's like you feel happy. Emotions last 90 seconds if you just let them flow in
Really?
your body. Yeah.
That's crazy. I don't know that.
If you put all the shame, all the conditioning, and everything that goes on in your brain into that emotion, that's when it becomes like a huge deal. Right? So if you, in jealousy, like you feel jealousy, obviously, you see your partner, not everyone feels it, but like most people feel it at different levels, right? There is obsessive jealousy. That means that you have an issue. You have insecurities. You're an insecure person, and that comes again back from your childhood. So you need to address that because, it's complex, but basically you add the feeling of jealousy. You add to it all your thoughts, your insecurities about yourself. I'm not loved. This person will abandon me because that has already happened to you. So the emotion becomes emphasized. If you experience jealousy as just a normal feeling, you don't criticize, you don't judge the jealousy. Like, yes, it's fine. I'm jealous. And I'm telling you, I'm jealous. When I see you with that girl, I'm jealous. But you make me feel safe in my relationship. It's like, yes, but I love you. I really care for you. It can be dealt, basically. It's just that both people need to come from a safe space anyways, and there needs to be a lot of communication, trust, appreciation, etc. before you step into non-monogamy in the first place. Like, you can't just go by, okay, like, let's have a threesome tomorrow.
And because the moment you do that, everything changes.
Yeah.
I really think you're right. It has to be a big step.
But that doesn't mean that it can't change back. It changes, and it's good, because when uncomfortable feelings come, it's an opportunity for you to understand yourself, understand the other partner. It's an opportunity to grow that relationship, make it stronger.
Right. That makes sense because, some couples complain that they never fight and they never have any problems. And
that worries me.
Same. Because I think it stems from showcasing the best version of yourself all the time and hiding the things that you really want.
Yeah.
Till one day people go and cheat, and then they're like, oh shit, how did that happen? We were so great. And this is exactly what happens. But at the same time, I was subscribed to this email newsletter from this guy called Aubrey Marcus. He is the former CEO of Onnit, a supplementation company in the US. He's big into DMT and doing ayahuasca ceremonies and stuff. But the other big thing that he talked about in his emails and his content was his open marriage. His partner was, with someone. He was with his partner and another woman. And every week, it was just like seeing this guy's personal diary. Like, he's a big CEO guy, and he's sharing the struggles, the beauty, the problems of, essentially knowing that his partner is with someone else and having his partner experience the same thing for him, till it became so torturous for him that he ended that and he became fully monogamous. I'm not advocating for if monogamy is better or non-monogamy is better, but I'm just saying, do you think that people can be non-monogamous for the rest of their lives? Is that possible at all?
Well, I have the questions about monogamy. Can you be monogamous for the rest of your life?
It is difficult because think about half the jokes on WhatsApp. It's all wife and husband jokes,
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough place to be in. But do people ever go from experimenting a lot back to what they've always known?
Of course. And that doesn't mean that you go to monogamy and then you don't go back to non-monogamy. You're free to do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anyone. It's nothing is strict. It's the same kind of thing happens to a bisexual person,
Right.
Sometimes you feel like you want a relationship with a man, and sometimes you feel like you want a relationship with a woman. So once you become very, very fluid in understanding yourself and understanding like your right now needs and moment, like what do you feel right now, then you can go and just live that sort of lifestyle. So you can be monogamous for a number of years, then that doesn't work anymore. That doesn't mean you end a relationship. That relationship changes. Because we change, we evolve as human beings. Like, we are not in caves anymore, like hunting for, I don't know what, berries or animals, whatever, vegetarian or vegetarian. Like we've evolved and we are still evolving. So you can change and you can change your mind. And as long as we are not hurting the other person and intentionally. I mean, obviously there is hurt and there's nothing wrong in hurt. Everybody gets hurt and it's just about addressing that hurt when it comes.
Yeah. It's like that Frank Sinatra song, That's Life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing you touched upon is this. We talked earlier about BDSM, right? And the only pop culture memory most people have is 50 Shades of Grey, the book and the movie. When it comes to having people to talk about, say, sadism or masochism, or for that matter, bondage, I don't see a lot of people in my own life even, and I have a lot of friends who are actively talking about, hey, so I was tied up, and this is not how a sentence starts. So by the way, I was tied up and XYZ happened. It still is very much under the covers. It still seems to me as a layman like a forbidden act. I'm not going to delve into my own sexual life for the sake of this podcast because I only dox myself every 5 episodes. But
why don't you do it now?
There is no merit to oversharing here.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
You can talk about your experience.
It's been great. Is all I can say. I really enjoy experimenting. I think my quote unquote sexual emancipation really came when I moved out and went to the US. Because that allowed me to explore avenues and understand things about myself and who I am with others that I didn't know here. Because most Indians live with their parents. And so it isn't really...
That's your BDSM for you.
So it becomes difficult. But when you live alone and you can have people over, you have time, right? And it isn't like a conventional hookup. You can really find out what you like. So I'm very blessed for that I had those years, and I took that knowledge away with me, because like I've even seen most people tend to be virgins when they marry and they have sex with their wives or their husbands for the first time in a conventional marriage, right? Yeah. And that's when they're really exploring who they are sexually. What are we talking about? We're talking about BDSM, right? This went on tangents.
Well, you talk about marriage, BDSM, again, it's like going the same territory.
Yeah. Like I like even thinking about that, for example, right? Like, so let's just say your marriage has been arranged and, you want to have BDSM. You probably wouldn't, talk about those things on the first night.
Right. I'll tell you what people do.
Yeah.
Okay. They go and pay for it. And their partners don't know. So they live double lives. And they feel guilty as hell about doing that. So this is the reality. And this is a reality that I deal with.
Wow.
You can pay for it. I have no problems if you're paying for like a pro-dom or, even a sex worker to express yourself and figure out stuff. Mm-hmm. But obviously the guilt is eating people alive.
Right.
And again, back to the body, guilt is going to eat your body and you're going to start facing like all sorts of things like high blood pressure, diabetes, like all lifestyle diseases are connected to your emotions, and that guilt, shame, all of that just eats you from inside. So do you prefer living a double life? Because if you are kinky, you can't stop it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't.
It's like you're repressing your nature.
Yeah, so if you're repressing, then you are going to feel very, very uncomfortable throughout. And it's going to spill over to your work, professional life, all other relationships. So it's better to kind of like talk about it and start talking about like the way you were tied up last night at some point. It's tough. I'm not saying it's easy.
Right.
But we have to start normalizing this.
Why do you think kinks are criminalized? Universally, except for like maybe places where professional sex work or like spaces where you can actually go and engage in figuring out what you want sexually. Except for those places, why do you think kinks are criminalized or
legally, you mean, or like
criminalized socially? Socially criminalized.
Because
apart from the two things we discussed, we're not gonna mention. Apart from those two things.
It's also because sex is criminalized. It's not just kinks. I mean, we don't talk about sex also, you know. And it's not, you know, the idea of kink has not been there for so long. You know, it's not, surely it's been in the margins. It's always been there in a way. But even talking about sex is kind of new now.
Right.
Not just here, like even in the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 30 years, maybe like 20 years, 30 years that people have started talking more about sex. Even this profession is new.
Right.
Like there aren't any people that I know that do this, at least here. In Europe, very few, maybe in the UK, in the US. But all of this is very new. So it takes time for people to understand what this is, you know. It's part of that evolution. We didn't know how it was to sit on a plane. Or to fly. We created a plane. Everybody was scared, and now we are all flying across the world, like enjoying ourselves. Indian food, like Chinese food, back in the long time ago, was just like your Manchurian and stuff. And even now, there's like full Chinese cuisine in India. So you get used to it. People would laugh at you when you would speak about Chinese food. Like, I'm talking about a long time ago. I don't know if you were born, but.
Yeah, no, I was born in 97, but I know what you're talking about, yes.
So I think it's just, you know, sex definitely is taboo. And then kink as a sort of, you know, edgy version of sex is even more.
Yeah, like that you said, it's an edgy version of sex. I couldn't help but remember when you were saying this, I saw this meme yesterday. It said that running was invented in 1900, and then the meme was a video, of course, and then it said people in 1899. So this guy comes up to a guy, steals his bottle, and the guy's like, hey, what? And he starts walking after him because he can't run. You know, that example came to my head. So when you deal with your clients, and for example, the clients who've been, you know, your website says late virgins, like someone who's 42, 31, confiding in your friends or confiding in your loved ones about, you know, how you haven't had sex for that long. Not that that's a problem, but it's, I mean, realistically, strategic, like, honestly speaking, everyone has this age in their head when they think they should have lost their virginity by. For some people, it's 16, 18, 21, 22, 25. Most people are like, at least by the time I marry, I lose my virginity. But then they don't marry also, and sometimes their prospects aren't too great. At that point, when those people come to you in so much distress, is it literally ruining their life? And how difficult is it to just bring them out of all those years of conditioning about how maybe they're not the most physically attractive, maybe they don't know how to engage? Like what is dealing with those clients like the emergency situations?
I mean, it's more or less the same. Like it all goes back to their initial, you know, understanding of pleasure, first of all. Like it's usually...
what do you mean by pleasure? I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Here we go. Back to the ropes.
Yeah.
Let's tie you up and talk about pleasure.
Oh my God, this is gonna get memed and put out of context. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so so what has been their experience of pleasure in the first place as children, where they that's what we talk about basically, like where they allowed to pleasure. Like in India, everybody's so pushed to kind of perform because it's a competitive environment. Like there's so many people who can do your job. So since you are a child, you are told like you have to do well in your studies. Some people manage, you know, some parents are less strict and, you know, and people go and play and they allow them to play and stuff. But most people that I interact with, they've been always like, oh, I had to study all my life. Like, what is even pleasure? What is you obviously, and if you come from a certain financial background, also economic background, you don't have the means to even understand what it is a hobby or to have a pleasant experience.
Correct.
Right? We are all running towards success. I mean, I'm not going to talk about capitalism and its pains, but when you're pushed to constantly perform and to focus also on your brain, on achieving something, you know, with studies, and you forget your body.
It's a cerebral life. Yeah. Yeah,
you forget your body. You forget that you need pleasure to survive. You need to experience that. So we start from that with people who are, your virgins. Like, how do we bring pleasure to your life? Like, and it's not just, do you masturbate?
Yeah.
How much do you do it? How much time do you spend? Or do you just go to the toilet and like jerk off within 30 seconds because your mother is like knocking on the door?
Yeah, it's a hostile environment to jerk off. Yeah.
And then you move into a hostel where somebody else is knocking at the door.
Right.
So the lack of privacy.
Yeah.
So all these things obviously have an impact. So there's nothing wrong with you, you're just responding to an environment that is not really conducive to pleasure and also connection, know, or dating or interacting with a woman or whatever it is. So we go through that and just make people feel that, okay, it's not actually me. It's pretty messed up out there. So it's normal that I have not been able to. And most people who boast about their experiences, so
they're not helping either.
I mean, sure, but why would they help? They're on their trip. But a lot of stuff that people talk about is also not true. Because there is this like idea, or especially with men, there's this idea of masculinity that, how much of the stuff you tell others is true actually.
Right. Yeah, this happens in school when you're with a group of friends, guys. Boasting is a big part of it, right? Yeah. So and boasting, sexual prowess is also something that happens in your teenage years when you have crushes on women, and like if you're as far as getting them to actually have sex, because I was reading the Vice article, it said that you get them to a place where they become okay with eye contact, and then touch, and then escalating. Flirting in a way that actually feels like a real life courtship and not just robotic. Till they go and actually have sex. What do they talk to you about? Like, oh my God, I did this amazing thing. It's a weight off my chest. I can finally move on with my life. Like, because what I've also seen is when you're a virgin for a long time and you finally have sex, most people come and say, oh yeah, it's not great like people used to say. I have a suspicion it's because that's the only time they've had it, and they feel like it's okay, I just got done with it. So they don't even know pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine if you have been experiencing, proper arousal with someone, and then you get to at your first sexual experience, and instead of just like putting it in, you explore their body, you talk, how I feel, how you feel, what do you enjoy. That experience is going to be memorable. Yeah. It's going to be like, oh, it's nothing.
Yeah. I because you're speaking, so I just want to share this one. Oh my God, I'm sharing now. Okay. Whenever I've been with partners, there's always been this, I don't really like speaking in English. Because it's just, I didn't grow up in an environment where, but I find that a lot of posturing and performance in sex sometimes usually happens, even the moaning and the pleasure and the all of that happens in English when I clearly know that some of these people are Hindi speakers. I was like, what if we can speak Hindi in bed? Having done that, I think it's the best thing ever that I've done in my life, because it just it's cultural memory, and then when that comes in, shit, I should stop sharing this now and just focus on
But yeah, I mean, I think a lot is addressed on, what is that platform where everybody's speaking? The red rooms in, what is that? Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. Oh my God. Yeah.
Those red rooms where you actually have vernacular languages, people like raunching about and screaming and saying all stuff in like God, Hindi and...
no, that is hit or miss. That place is really hit or miss. That just seems like... It's too chaotic. It's all over the place. I think you need some moderation in that.
I find it brilliant. It's amazing. It's all out there. Like,
so one misconception about kinks or being open about sex is that just because people talk about sex, or people like you are professionals helping other people become more intimate, people assume you must be overly sexualized. You must be having sex like 365 24/7 all the time, right? But then when I've spoken to a lot of people who are dating coaches and all, I find that like they lead interesting lives and they certainly have sex, but it isn't like they're like just going all over the place with like dildos and chains and like it's crazy, right? Do
Are you asking me how many times?
No. I'm saying, do people ask you about, like, or do people overtly assume that as a part of this profession, you just get to be around sexual situations all the time?
Yeah, they assume. I don't know how far they are from reality.
Yeah.
Cut.
That's okay. No, I was just generally curious because
Okay.
it's a difficult profession.
It is. I mean, you have to. It's a lot about regulating, and creating some sort of distance between your personal life and your professional life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I talk relationships, sex, 24 hours. It's like even in my sleep.
Wow.
So
what do you do for fun then? Like books,
my
hobbies?
My life is fun.
Yeah.
My profession is
No, I'm just wondering, like when people start teaching something, is there like a difference between your professional life and personal life, or is it all mixed together?
This is the third person that asked me this question in the past 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anymore.
You're just on a wave surfing, seeing how it all.
I don't know anymore. But it's not. I mean, I think it's like your usual conversation about work-life balance.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is work, no, because it's a service that you provide.
Yeah. So, like, obviously, work and life balance. Now, you take an artist, or you take obviously, an office job where you're a boring job that you don't enjoy, then you want to really limit your hours, somehow. But if it's something that you're really passionate about, it's a little tougher. Then you have to also figure out, like, what happens when you want free time. How do you make free time for yourself where you, like, just detox from everything and be on your own and be calm and not engage with anyone. So.
When did you first start practicing? Because the article said that you came here, you were very surprised with how some of the people you met here weren't too sure or were really bad with their touch and dating. But when did you officially start to become this intimacy coach figure?
About 3 years ago.
3 years ago?
Yeah. Prior to that, I was into something else. But I had worked so much with all the dating apps, like your Tinder and Bumble.
So you work with them?
I mean, I used to before, not as a coach, but I used to work in, like, consumer research. So we would speak to a lot of, like, people who use the apps and what is their experience. And then we would, like, write reports for these dating apps. So I've been exposed to the sort of problems of people, the issues with at least dating and dating apps and online dating. Since
it's all based on face value, no?
Yeah.
It's like because you don't have the time to really think and see that person for who they are. You just, like, judge it and then you swipe. Yeah. Could you share some insights from that time?
I mean, it's evolved because when we started working with dating apps, I think it was still new. So we would go across India. Okay. So, like, your cities like Chennai, small towns like Lucknow, Indore, and they had just come. So everybody was extremely shy about talking. Like, they had to hide their dating app somewhere in their phone and then nobody wanted to talk about it. And cut to, everybody's like, I'm on Tinder and, this is like, I'm on a date and everybody's, I'm going on a trip with someone on a date. I'm going on a weekend to go out with a date. So there's been, like, a very fast kind of evolution in the online dating space. I find that women use dating a lot to create experiences and to get to know themselves, while men, I mean, I'm just, like, throwing
that's okay.
Observations
we're two people
here, right?
sharing our opinions. We don't have to be experts.
Right. So and the men and younger men who I spoke to, they're like, if I don't have a girl, I am not valued by society so it's kind of like girl is still accessory. While for women it's like exploration, I am exploring myself and new things. So it's still a bit strange because I mean, it should be, it should, no, it's not that it should, but it's nice, or it's more interesting when it is about getting to know each other and connecting with someone. But it is still used as some kind, people are still using each other as a commodity. And
I will say dating apps can get very transactional, especially in the early days. It's sort of changed now when you've got dating apps like Bumble and Hinge, which add a little bit of a filter, or you can add your interests and stuff, and there's video calls now so that you can actually speak to people before you actually meet with them. There's some advancement happening in that. I generally also think that if you just meet someone for sex through the app, no judgment in that, you run the risk of because one of the things you talk about on your website is this post BDSM shame, and I'm pretty sure sometimes people hook up and they don't feel the best. They feel that either they were taken advantage of, or they feel that they found a part of themselves that they didn't really like. And so what is that part of the job like when they go through something like that?
That's great. I mean, any kind of reaction and emotion that comes from a dating experience, it's brilliant, because it's a way to like figuring out what is going on with you. You obviously did not express, or whoever feels that way didn't manage to express, for whatever reason, like call it past trauma or whatever, what they wanted. If I am having sex with someone and then suddenly I realize that I'm not enjoying it, but I don't say anything. Yes, sure, I feel used afterwards. Like, I sit with it and I think, okay, what happened there? Why didn't I speak? Where is it coming from? Obviously communication is everything. Like, you ideally, from the kinky community, we should all learn consent, how to have a conversation about consent. What is it that I like, I don't like, negotiations, what kind of things are we going to do? I know it sounds very, very like systematic,
anticlimactic to a lot of people,
but you can make it sexy. Okay, so even if you're chatting with someone on an app, once you get to that sort of like sexual stage, it's like, I would really, love to like bite you on the neck. How much biting do you like? Like, how strong do you like the bite to be? Because I like to bite, blah, blah, blah. So you should be able to talk about that as if you're talking about a meal, Like, you like Mexican. How spicy do you like your Mexican? Yeah? Oh, I don't like it very spicy. Okay, so should we try like this dish, which is, not so spicy, and then we order also some guacamole on the side, or like some, so that should be the conversation. If something goes wrong, it's good, because at least you know what to do next.
Right. This is how you understand your personal boundaries, wherever you're willing to.
And how you learn how to say no. You learn how to express your boundaries. You learn about yourself, and that's what dating is. It's primarily getting to know yourself.
How difficult is it to establish personal boundaries for people, at least the people you meet, when they're either new to the sexual experience, both men and women, and their conceptions of what sex is probably from media, where if I'm just drawing out a picture where, let's just say, usually the guy takes the lead, and usually females take this unassertive role, right? How do you get some of your female clients to start becoming assertive, if at all, that comes across in your work?
Yeah. I mean, again, we role play this, we role play, and yes, most women want to be approached. They still don't feel that is their job to do things, whether it's sexually or like even approaching a guy at the bar. I'm not talking for all women, because obviously,
of course, there are exceptions. The rule for this conversation, there are exceptions everywhere. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we role play it. Okay, and it's about being able to like practice it multiple times. Like, okay, what is it that you want? Close your eyes, and obviously I use these methods that involve body sensations and stuff. Like, close your eyes. What is it that you would love to do right now to this person in front of you? And then being able to communicate it. Because often, like, we as women, we feel victims of circumstances, but actually we still don't have the language to kind of say like, I want this.
Yeah.
This is what I want. So we role play that many, many, many times.
So it's just dialogue?
Then it goes, how is it that you want to be touched? Okay. You have to, we role play like, okay, now I'm going to touch you. You have to guide me on how to touch. I'm going to just put my hand on your shoulder. You have to tell me where you want it to go and how. I'm holding your neck. I'm holding your face. You have to tell me how you want me to proceed. And it sounds very mechanical, but you need to practice. It's a skill.
No, it's not. I think once you figure it out, it becomes, I really think it becomes more pleasurable the more you do it.
Yes. And it can be sexy, you know. Talking about it can be very sexy.
Oh, it's very sexy. For real.
So if I hold your face and I say, like, I would really love to kiss your lips or run my tongue across your lips. So that already builds attention without me doing anything. So women like struggle a little bit with that. So we just role play that, like, okay, now say it again. Say it in a different way. Let's try with another body part. And then we get to it.
What I've seen, the first time I came across a gimp suit, I hope I'm not getting the name wrong. I was playing GTA San Andreas. I was a kid back then. And there's a special mission in which you date this girl and you can, be a gimp for her. I didn't do my research, so I still don't know what a gimp is. So I figured I'd ask you directly. What are those leather suits that people wear? And what is going on there? I literally have no idea.
Is this part of the interview?
Yeah.
Or is this like you?
No, I'm genuinely curious because in order to understand the community, we also have to know like what is what are the characteristics of it.
What have you seen? Like, have you seen like a latex suit or
a latex suit primarily, like black latex suits? I think you also did a live with someone who I believe was wearing a horse's head. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, yeah. Please don't take this as well. I'm not judging you. I'm genuinely curious.
Even if you were judging me, it's kind of cool. I like it.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, there are different things that people get out of experiences. I personally love latex. Okay, so I will speak about my personal experience. Sure. It just like some people, you just get turned on by smelling like a condom. You know?
Right.
It just like takes your head to kind of a sexual experience. And the fact that you're constricted makes you feel in control, at least in some cases.
Arouse like there's this thing called autoerotic asphyxiation, which is cutting off the oxygen supply. It's not the same, right?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's a completely separate practice. You can do it with multiple, like you can do it with cling film, you can do it like with bags, but that's the most dangerous form of kink or like BDSM, whatever practice. But otherwise, the rest is more to do with bondage. So either being in control or not being in control. So the sort of play that goes around control and letting go or creating a persona. Yeah. So in the instance of our like horses, and we interviewed pups and horses, that's also like a role.
Wait, pups and horses?
Yeah.
So
we interviewed a pony and then a pup.
So what do those mean?
Pup, like a dog.
Oh, so that's usually someone who would just like to be, I don't know, obedient.
Who
yeah.
You could be a rowdy pup also.
Okay.
Like
so you can literally embody the qualities of a pup.
Yes.
That's crazy, huh?
Okay. Yeah. So it's called pet play.
Okay.
And there is pet play that you can do with multiple animals. So there is ponies, there is pigs, there is kittens.
How about a pet snake?
Huh?
Do people do pet snakes?
I haven't seen anyone, but they should.
Yeah.
There is a form of reptile. There are dragons.
Oh yeah. Okay. So how would a sexual pet dragon behave? Wow.
Maybe it'll eat you.
Yeah. Wow. So horses then? So horses you can just sit on the back of, right?
So there are different types of horses. I don't know if you went into the interview, but the guy was explaining, that there are cart ponies, there are wild ponies. So wild ponies have to be tamed. Yes. And they will kick you when you're trying to tame them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, but broadly speaking, that takes you away. That's what we kind of discussed during the interview. Like takes you away from your regular persona or your regular personality. So you forget about your electricity bills. That's what literally the guy said. Because obviously electricity is quite expensive in the US.
Yeah.
You probably forget about, like, I don't know, petrol prices or
It's
traffic in Mumbai.
Escapism at its best. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just forget and relax.
Is the myth about he or she who is most dominant is most submissive in bed? Like, like how there's all these like folk quotes going around like, oh, he's such a masculine man, and then you'll see him act the exact opposite and vice versa. Like, is there any truth to that theory?
I don't want to speak for everyone, but yes, obviously if you have to deal with a lot of responsibilities, a lot of taking charge, but it's not just what you do right now. It goes back to childhood as well. Like
right.
If you felt powerless as a child, you might want to recreate power in your not just in your professional life, but also in bed. Right, so you want to feel. Sex is about feeling a certain way, right? If being a dom makes you feel powerful, you probably didn't feel so powerful as a child. If being a sub makes you feel that you're losing control, maybe you were responsible for too many things at some point, and you want to let go of that. So it's not just like right now what you are right now, but it's also what you experienced back when you were a child, because that stays in your body, and the only way to express it is through like arousal, sexuality.
What can parents do to make sure that their children? I mean, it's stupid to think that you can go through life without any kind of trauma. I think that will never happen. But what can parents do to make sure that their children understand intimacy, touch, and how to approach someone they like with the intent of either dating them or having sex with them? Because the intent part is also something that I see lacking. People will have this mental intent to ask this person out or like to engage in some kind of sexual activity with them, but they can't express it because either they don't have the language for it, they have been socialized well. So what can parents do? And I'm saying this from a standpoint of, I was growing up here, the chapters on biology in 8th and 9th grade were just brushed past. So every other chapter, our teachers would make sure that they explain it to us in simple language as well. Come to chapter 8 and 9, the human genitalia, just brush past it. With so much hush happening, what are some basic takeaways that we can do?
See, first you have to, as a parent, obviously I'm not a parent, so...
Sure, but even as a caregiver, not a parent. Yeah.
So you have to be comfortable with the topic yourself. If you are not comfortable, then please, take your child to a professional or get yourself, just make sure that you get it out. Like all your shame is out, because otherwise you will give wrong messages. In terms of touch, then obviously we all need touch, and if you can, as a caregiver, give as much touch to your child as you can, and read and be attuned to your child. If they cry, attend them, or let somebody else attend them. They need to be attended when children cry. It's not that you don't leave them there. And it's tough, obviously. I mean, I'm not a parent and I don't know, but that's the basic rule to avoid all sorts of attachment issues later on. And if you are not comfortable talking about sex, let somebody else do it, ideally a professional, and understand why you are uncomfortable. Like my mother was uncomfortable. My mother came from a very conservative religious family. And she was uncomfortable. So when I addressed, I was 9 maybe, and I went back home and somebody told me, okay, you have sex, you put the thing inside there. And I asked, she was uncomfortable, obviously because of her background. She just got me a book. And that was the beginning of my sexual education
awakening
journey. Yeah, and that's why I rely on books a lot as well, I've relied all my life on books. Is that a good thing? I don't know, but that's how it's happened for me.
Right.
but I spoke to other people as well. We are trying to do a series on porn and at what age people like discovered sex and what it meant and stuff. And for some it's been very natural. So they've just went through magazines and they had someone to speak to about it in a natural way, and they were not shamed and they were not told like, oh no, don't. This is not the age to do this.
Yeah.
That is gonna like create problems later on. So children need to have someone to speak to in a relaxed way where they don't get shamed, where sex is normal. Again, we are going back to like sex is just like food.
Right.
If we saw sex as just regular meal conversations, then none of this would be there.
I think we take ourselves way too seriously, and whenever I see someone taking themselves seriously, I always think if we all took off our clothes, we would just look like a bunch of animals, because we are animals. Like when you see like a herd of sheep or a bunch of deer, they don't have clothes on. They're just species. I think we take ourselves too seriously because we've built a society, we have, abstract concepts that we hold allegiances to. And as a result, we just, put sex in this closet, like this Pandora's box. In a lot of cultures, sex is a Pandora's box that must never be opened. But two things in response to what you said about the parent-child touch phenomenon. There's this guy, Sebastian Junger. He's written this book called Tribe on belonging. It's about how soldiers have difficulties integrating back into society when they come back from war because they're used to so much camaraderie and being together in tense situations. But one of the points that he was making about how he had a kid at 55, and he says that all prams and cots essentially monetize parent-child separation. And so what they do with their kids is when they take their kids around, or his kid around rather, he and his wife hold them close like you would have like a monkey, like a primate, right? Like how the kid would either hang from their back. So their kids are very okay with understanding what good touch and bad touch in adults feels like because they have so much experience. That's number one. The second thing about, going to a place where even the parents themselves have not addressed their sexual issues. It often, I feel like it comes from a place of children also don't want to see their parents as sexual beings. I think it scares a lot of people when you grow up and you realize, holy shit, I was born through the sex. I really mean that. It's the first awakening, right? And it sort of distorts your worldview. But then with the right education, you can get back to a place and normalize it. But yes, those are the two responses I had to what you had to say. Yeah. Yeah, no, I just thought the touch thing is very interesting because I've also had friends who've been to hostels all their lives. And they were separated from their caregivers a long time ago. So they always longed for that touch.
Yeah. I mean, see, human beings, we are developing slightly faster than what we are meant to. Like our bodies are not really catching up with the way things are running right now. So obviously when people used to take care of their kids as tribes and everybody was just roaming around naked and a child would be held by multiple people but there was constant touch, that's when probably emotions and our bodies are like carrying that knowledge. So it's in our DNA, it's in our like genes, that's how it's supposed to be. Obviously we are changing, we are transforming. So perhaps later on in life, unless we do something about it now, we start having these conversations, maybe we will be these sort of like detached robots that don't need so much touch anymore. Maybe it's just something virtual. Maybe you just plug onto a machine and you are sorted. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the way we are going, no problem. But obviously right now the problem is that we are moving a bit too fast for the way our bodies change, because it's taken us like how many million years to actually, have a body like this that functions in the way it does. And it still craves for those emotions and feelings that we had during, when we were just like roaming the savannas
our circuit is ancient. We just have all these modern things we do, but our circuits are ancient. What do you think porn has perverse effects on how people understand intimacy and sex?
Definitely it has an impact, especially if that's your only source of education or sexual education. It's great. I mean, porn is beautiful because it just shows you variety. Like
Right.
that there's so much stuff going on that you can explore. But if that's your only source of understanding what a physical relationship is, then it's a problem. And it's a problem for youth because back in the days we didn't have porn, so we had to experiment just like with another human being before.
Right. Also lots of boredom. No phones, nothing. You're just like around other people. Yeah.
True.
Because I really think that the dopamine that you get from watching porn,
Oh yeah.
and even masturbating to it, or just it really, this is my opinion as 25-year-old who probably knows nothing, but I think it kills your exploratory urge to a large extent.
Yeah, it does, because you're just fulfilling that basic sort of need that you have.
Right.
So, but then again, after like years of that, eventually you will be very disappointed with your sexual life, and then you come and see me and I'll sort you out. No problem.
Sounds Gucci. We'll have your handles at the end of this. Wow. So people take you aside all the time, even your family and friends, and consult you for this?
Yeah.
Yeah. You must hold a lot of secrets, huh, for people.
Oh man.
Yeah. See, this I do this podcast, and I think the real podcast always happens before and after the podcast, when people talk about themselves, and my journal is just full. Because I really it's such a weird thing to have people confide in you, and to feel that they can trust you, that you will not judge them. And once you really listen to people, they say all kinds of things. You can really see the extent of their entire lives, the tangents they go on, the things that worry them. How do you feel like you're living in a dream, like this fascinating dream where people are just revealing all, like, I don't know, like it'd be cool to like, have a book around these experiences.
Maybe I will.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's connecting with people. I think that's beautiful, and that's what like drives me personally. Just being able to share not just their experience but my experience. It's just that connection that I find extremely beautiful.
Yeah.
I forget everything. What they say. It's kind of gone. I stick to the emotion. What did I feel during that conversation? What did the other... And if someone feels so comfortable that they really open up, you can see there's so much relief in that. There's so much relief.
Earlier you mentioned that you've been to different kinds of therapy. Have you tried psychoanalysis at all, or are you more about like arts release and dance releases?
No, of course psychoanalysis. Yeah.
Yeah. I find that to be very interesting. Psychoanalysis has this kind of talk therapy like nature that I haven't yet come across in simple clinical psychology, and I think you combine that with some kind of an expressive art therapy. From friends who've done it, they tell me that it's really helpful for dealing with pains that are in the body. That unprocessed emotions stored as pains in the body. That's the right word.
Yeah. I think one type of therapy is not enough.
Yeah.
Like you need multiple sources, and whatever works for you, it's good. Like some people just struggle talking, like when they go for talk therapy, it just takes too long and years, and you just talk about it and you don't feel things. You need to experience stuff as well, or you need to get to another level, because talking is good, but it's not enough, I feel.
How can people get in touch with their bodies? And like really that's a question that I think, how some people are just more, they're more in tune with physically. They're more moving around, and not from an ungrounded place. Not that their energy is all over the place, but it's just how they move, right? Through space. And some people are all here. When I was watching these bioenergetic release videos also, I noticed that a lot of people who had difficulty speaking, this guy, Aili, he was talking about how they were stopped from speaking as children, or they were told to shut up, right? As parents will often chide the children to shut up sometimes.
Yeah.
And that manifested here. So when they try to bend back like a bow and breathe, they would choke up. Any particular areas of the body that you see people's pains are stored in when you're, talking to them?
Yeah, definitely throat is one of them. And then obviously the gut, the heart region. Some people have neck and shoulder kind of tension when they're carrying too many responsibilities.
I have massive neck and shoulder. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. If they don't feel very stable financially or they don't feel secure, then usually they have like blocks in their hips or in their like lower parts of the bodies.
What about the genitals?
Well, genitals is it's creative energy, right? So if that has been suppressed, it can go either way. Like either you're too sexually aroused,
By everything?
yeah,
Or you're just...
or you're just completely frozen, and it takes time. And the most simple way of dealing with body and becoming more aware, more embodied is breath. I mean, I don't want to sound like some yogi
That's okay.
from the mountains, but breath work, breathing exercises is what we've been given to actually connect with ourselves. And there are many, like you might not enjoy a certain type of meditation or mindful exercises.
There's hundreds of them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You just find one and practice for like 1 minute first, and then you increase it, and it does wonders. Like literally, like.
Have you tried Wim Hof breathing?
Yeah, I do it when I'm sick.
Yeah, same. I think it's the best for immunity.
Yeah.
I had a cold. I haven't had a cold in 3 years, except for the time I had COVID. But when I had a cold, I did it, and it just cleans everything up.
Yeah, yeah.
It's great. It's great. Wow, Aili, thank you so much for Aili. Sorry, thank you so much for doing this. Your job is interesting, very very interesting, and I think it takes proverbial balls / a vagina to do what you do. And to be the face of it, to speak about it, and to help other people through it. Because it's one thing to be a business coach or like something else, that's usually rewarded by society. But I don't think we're at that place yet where we're vocal about what we want from our dating lives, our physical lives, our sexual lives. And so, in the US, they tell veterans, thank you for your service. I would like to say thank you for doing this. I think it's great. And where can people find you?
Right now on the Intimacy Curator.
That's on Instagram?
That's on Instagram. We have a website. And then, personally...
Don't find her.
I'm somewhere in Mumbai.
Yeah, actually, we're recording in an undisclosed bunker right now. So, and just to clarify for the audience, say someone reaches out to you after this podcast, all of the conversations that you have are private and confidential.
Yeah.
You don't reveal details ever.
Obviously, no.
Right?
Not at all, yeah. And we can
Fantastic.
sign like a clause,
Yeah.
that says that.
So if you're a big someone's son, feel free to, hit them up and see what they can do for your lives. Surprise, surprise, we're back again because I just found out that Aili knows a little Hindi. So Aili, आपका
जी बोलिए जी.
आपका संदेश क्या है इस दुनिया के लिए? मतलब लोग क्या सीख सकते हैं सारी कॉन्वर्सेशन से? क्या सेक्स के बारे में, इंटीमेसी के बारे में, डेटिंग के बारे में
क्या सीख सकते हैं?
हाँ.
कि सेक्स के बारे में बात करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. पेरेंट्स के साथ, दोस्तों के साथ, गर्लफ्रेंड्स बॉयफ्रेंड्स के साथ, और एक्सप्रेस करना है कि क्या चाहिए खुद को. पहले समझना है कि क्या चाहिए खुद को, और इसके बाद I don't know what
नहीं प्लीज गो ऑन. हाँ.
What else?
फ्री लव.
फ्री लव हिंदी में कैसे बोलते हैं?
मुफ्त प्यार.
मुफ्त प्यार. अपना हाथ जगन्नाथ. ये बहुत ज़रूरी है.
और पता है, although इंडिया में एक पूरी कम्युनिटी है that believes in the whole no fap culture. They don't advocate for masturbation at all.
हाँ, पता है.
है ना? What would you like to say to no fappers?
आपको what is that? What is that thing?
And now you can say it in English. I think
नहीं,
we've had
आपको साधु बनना है तो आप ज़रूर जाइएगा बनारस या एक पहाड़ के ऊपर. लेकिन हम लोग जो शहर में रहते हैं, गांव में रहते हैं, दूसरे लोगों के साथ रहते हैं, हम अपना हाथ यूज़ करेंगे बिल्कुल.
Fucking love it. We had Aili Seghetti. Seghetti is right, the correct pronunciation, in the house on Dostcast. And we'll see you all next Tuesday and Friday. Bye-bye.